Mohit, can you go to your system landscape, please?
Sure.
Can you explain to us what is the reason of separating ESB and ETL?
Yes. So ESB will be used for large volume file-based data migration. However, ESB will be used for message-based integration, which would be low volume.
Okay. Any other reasons?
Yes, and ESB also will help us in doing the protocol conversion and avoid the point-to-point communication, and also reliable transmission of asynchronous messages using the retry mechanisms.
Okay. So in their systems, they said they have a current integration between the logistics systems and the billing systems, right?
Yes.
Are you gonna modify that to go through ESB?
Yes, so there is an existing integration. Yes, so for ESB, yeah, for ERP and logistics system, there is an idly batch which is running. So that I'm going to modify using the ETL.
So if it's running perfectly fine, why do you want to change it?
Because now we will have to, so the data will flow from Salesforce, because we will onboard the customers in Salesforce, and from there it will go to ERP system. And then what I want to ensure is that the moment that data is captured, then it also migrates to the logistic system. And if there are certain additional attributes based upon the Salesforce data model which we are sending there, then we will have to anyways modify that to enable the sync.
Ajit, you can ask the next question. I'll be back.
Sure. So, Mohit, in your system landscape, which system is the source of truth for customer data?
So in my system landscape, the customer data will be mastered in Salesforce post the migration from ERP system.
Okay. So there is a requirement right now that the logistics systems, we have around 4 logic systems and the 2 ERP systems, customers' data might be duplicate in those systems. Okay, so the
Right.
same customer exists multiple times. Do you see any issue with that, and how you're handling that situation?
Right. So I'll first talk about the off-platform dedupe process, wherein during the migration stage itself, we are going to extract the data from ERP and load into Salesforce, and there we will create a unique ID, which will link the Salesforce and the ERP system. And then I'm also recommending that we update that unique ID in ERP, so that even if the data is duplicate there, and due to regulations we may not be able to update it, but it still links to one unique record on the Salesforce side.
Okay. And what are some of the tools? So now you're using the Salesforce as a source of truth for account, contact, customer data. What are some of the tools available in the Salesforce to help you on the data quality and the data types, etc.?
Right. So for Salesforce native, we have standard duplication rules, and matching rules, which we can enable on account, contact, and lead to ensure that the data quality is good.
Okay. And how you are handling the security between the ESB and Salesforce?
Okay, so the security there will be two levels. One is the network security, and another one is the application layer security. For network security, will enable mutual TLS between Salesforce and ESB, where a certificate provided by ESB will be uploaded into certificate and key management in Salesforce by requesting Salesforce support to enable mutual TLS, and then so that the communication can happen on 8443 port between ESB and Salesforce, and the end-to-end communication is encrypted. And for authorization at application layer, I'm recommending Auth 2.0 JWT flow.
Okay. And what is your documents management strategy?
So my document management strategy, Salesforce files, considering the calculation, we have more than 12.5 terabyte of file storage space. So hence I'm not going for any external tools, and considering we have only 4 months, so I don't want to bring in any external document management system.
But in the long term, what would happen? So that once the 12 terabytes start filling up, what is the strategy you have in that case?
Right. So my strategy then is to in the future, after the MVP go live, for the future phases, there are two things which I look at. Number one is the archival strategy for the files based upon the business criteria. So I will engage the data stewards and business to ensure what could be the criteria to archive some of the historical files, and then where to archive. In order to do that, I need to bring in a data lake or an external system where the files can be archived. And since we are archiving the file, maybe there will be, I'm also assuming there will be a visibility requirement into archived files. So hence I will go for a document management solution like Box in the longer term.
Okay. Then what is the purpose of that? So you're suggesting that you're going to go to the external document management in the future. What is the purpose of FTP here in your system landscape?
Okay, so this one is so I'm here. I'm recommending that for uploading the files which are stored on the desktop or are printed as PDF. If for them to support the migration of those files, if we can set up an FTP drive like a temporary storage, so that ETL can read the files from the FTP and upload the data into Salesforce.
Okay, Varna.
Yeah. Can you go to your data model?
Sure.
Yeah. So Mohit, if you go to the requirement under pickup scheduling, there's a requirement number 5 where it says for any reason if the schedule cannot be confirmed, the request will remain unconfirmed.
Right.
So where is your request data going to be stored?
So that will be on the pickup schedule only. So on the site, this pickup schedule is basically the request object. So this will be created from once we get the confirmation or once we get error from the scheduling system. There will be a status field which will say that this is the schedule and it is confirmed, or the schedule can be there but it can be unconfirmed. So that I'm capturing here. Okay, so the customer is going to provide their request, right? Because it says it's going to pick up the pivot day, the week, the time of the day, and other parameters. So you're going to enter that data in the pickup schedule. And then it says the logistics system will return a confirmed schedule. Right? So are you going to, in your pickup schedule, are you going to have the confirmed schedule as well as the request both together? No, so my understanding of this requirement is that there will be a quick action screen flow where the customer will enter the data for the pickup request, and then from the screen flow we will send a request in the real time using RNR pattern to logistics system, and logistics system will confirm whether the schedule is viable. And if it is, then we'll get the confirmation status for that schedule, or otherwise we will get an error message, and then in that case the status will be errored, and based upon the response only we are going to generate this record. Okay, so the schedule has some additional data, right? For example, let's say where this route this belongs to. So for example, if you requirement 7 gives the route being part of that schedule. So where are you capturing the route information? Right. So my my understanding is that the route will be configured on the logistics system. And then logistics system will look at the various pickups scheduled for that particular day and generate a route, and then push it to the devices which are installed on the trucks. And then for each pickup schedule, there will be a truck assigned. This will be also from the logistics system. Which will actually link that which truck is going to pick up which waste from this as per this schedule. So I could have actually gone for another, child object here, which could be pickup, request, and then the schedule. But then my consideration here was that it will be a one-to-one relationship. For one request, we're not going to create multiple schedule. So hence I denormalize that in the same object.
Okay. So if you look at requirement number 7, if the logic system need to make a change to the schedule after it's established, for example, adding to so they moved that schedule from say route A to route B. So when a customer is you're sending an SMS, where you're going to say now your earlier route was A, now your new route is B, here's the update. So where are you getting that route information again, sorry?
Okay, so I didn't consider that route needs to be captured in Salesforce from a customer perspective. So my understanding of this requirement was that customer will need to know what is the time or the date and on which the waste will be picked up from this particular location, and which truck is allocated to that. However, what route that truck will follow. I didn't see any such requirement to for the getting the the route visibility. Varuna.
Mohit, can you read your requirement number 7 and explain to me how that's going to be solved, where the data is going to be captured from?
Sure. So if the logistic system needs to make changes to the schedule after it is established, the customer is notified by the SMS. Okay. So here, my understanding was that we will send the pickup schedule request, which is this object, to the logistics system. Logistics system will register it and add it to a particular route that on this particular date, as per this route, this will be picked up, and then send the confirmation status to Salesforce. And if that schedule is going to be changed, for example, that the pickup was scheduled to be on 4 p.m., but now it is scheduled on 6 p.m. The customer needs to be notified that your schedule is changed from 4 to 6 p.m. But I didn't consider that the customer also needs to have visibility to that what route will be followed to pick up the waste. So that is something I didn't consider. However, if we have to capture that in Salesforce, if my assumption is wrong, then we will also have to capture the route assigned to that pickups as a custom object, and then there will be a lookup from the pickup schedule to that route, and then route record will be created as part of the integration from the logistics system.
So just follow up on that one. So let's assume that the way it is written is customer has a schedule for that location. So for location, there is a pickup. Let's say customer wants to pick up, let's say every Monday. I assume that information you are keeping in the pickup schedule, right? That every Monday 7 a.m. Perfect. Now let's say after 2 weeks, only for the one day, let's say that 7 a.m. becomes 9 a.m. Where are you storing that information? That change of that particular day.
Okay, so yeah, so in that case, since I would have to request a pickup on a different day, so my recommendation here was to use the same record, because this is 1 to M record. So if it is so, then the customer can simply update the schedule request schedule by going to that schedule record and change it from 7 to 9 a.m. and then it will be sent as a request to the scheduling system.
Right. Do you see any problem in this approach? Because if you change the same record, that means it is applicable for everything in the future. What I want is that just particular day.
Okay. Yeah. So then in that case, we will not be able to manage that, considering that requirement. I will not be able to manage that in one object. So then we'll have a pickup request and then the corresponding schedule object, which actually, so we request for a particular date. There can be a generic request for all the days, but if there is a specific request, another request can be created, and for that, another schedule can be returned. Yeah.
Okay. Now follow up on that one. So let's say the customer got serviced every week on that day, where are you storing that historical information? Because as a customer, I need to see that my pickup was what was scheduled by truck has already been serviced. Where is that information here?
Right. So for that, for considering my existing assumption, I was capturing that on the schedule object only, where once the logistics system says that the service is completed, the status will change from confirmed to completed, and then customer should be able to see that history.
So just an example, in 1 year, there are 52 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you maintaining 52 records in the same
Okay.
object?
Right. Yeah. I'm not actually showing that here, but in my requirement, I did cover that. So yes, there will be an external object. So since we are archiving that after 3 months to the data warehouse, so we'll expose that data as an external object linked to the same site where the customer should be able to see the 3-month current data from this pickup schedule object and then the remaining data, historical data from that external object. And in order to provide a single view, I'm recommending a quick action LWC for sending the historical data. Seeing
So
this.
Mohit, even for the 3 months, right? I'm still not able to understand how you're maintaining that multiple record on the same object. So like you said, the pickup schedule just contains the schedule information that every Monday I need service. But whether you're storing the data about every Monday for the next 3 months.
Okay. Yeah, I think for that I will have to then split this into multiple objects only, where one would be my pickup request, which says that I need a pickup on every Monday, and then I'll basically get the schedule there week wise in the pickup schedule object.
Okay. Follow-up question on the Varuna that asked. So what is the license that you have given for the driver?
So for the driver, I've given them a Sales Cloud license, considering they
Okay.
need access to cases. Yeah.
And which mobile application the driver would be accessing?
So they would be accessing Salesforce mobile app.
Okay. So walk me through the experience. So I am a truck driver. I'm setting up, I have a Salesforce mobile. How would I know that in a particular day, what is the sequence of the customer and where I have to visit? How would that experience would look like and from where the data would come?
Right. So driver will be assigned to this. Let me go back to my data model. So drivers will be, so one driver will be assigned to one truck. And then the trucks will be part of the scheduling that on this day, since there are different trucks for a medical and industrial waste pickup. So driver will be assigned to the truck by the scheduling system, the logistics system, and then driver will be so once they are on the truck, they will be able to see that route information on that device which is installed on the truck, which is populated by logistics system.
And how exactly would they see? Would you use some out of the box capability? How on the what in the mobile app they would open to see the route and everything? Would you do some integration, some customization? What would you do on the mobile app for drivers?
Right. So for mobile, on the mobile, they will be able to see that using the Salesforce mobile app. Sorry, not using Salesforce mobile app as a Salesforce Maps feature, which I've configured based on the trucks and the location, wherein on the truck which is assigned to them on that particular day, they will be able to see what is the route and the location information and the corresponding site information, which is linked to the pickup schedule linked to that truck.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of the Salesforce map here?
So Salesforce Maps purpose is to show them the route that where they are currently and where their pickup is, and also from the customer point of view, it would be to also see where the truck is currently and then what is the ETA, maybe based upon the live traffic.
Okay, but I don't see route anywhere in your data model. You said that you will have a route for the Salesforce map. So where that route is coming through?
Yeah. So Yeah, so in my existing data model, of course, considering the discussion we just had, there will be a route object as well, which will capture the route suggested by that. But in the existing model, what I was thinking is that these pickups are like the different pickup points or the pickup schedules for a particular site. So similarly for various customers, their pickup will have a lookup to the trucks. So based upon that pickups, the truck will be able to show that on the map that on for this truck, these are the pickups defined today, and then these are the pickup location, which are the sites. So I was mapping based upon that. Yeah.
Okay. Can you go on the requirement number 3.c, pickup and disposal C?
3.c. Okay. Pickup scheduling.
So scroll down, go down.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a, just before data migration.
Yes.
The C. Can you read that paragraph again
Yes.
and tell me that how you are addressing that?
So if there are any issues during the Sure. If there are any issues during the pickup, the driver will be able to use a company provided mobile device to create a support issue, add supporting videos, and collaborate with the customer and specialist to the case. Yes. So the mobile, the driver will be able to access the pickup schedule record based upon their assignment to that particular truck, and then they will be able to create a case using a quick action on that.
Okay. How would you address the collaboration with customer part here?
Okay. So collaboration with customer part, yes. So yeah, so in that case, they will be able to have a chatter, right? Like on the case, we can use a chatter. On the record, chatter can be used, or even the customer primary contact can also be added to the case team because they are our customer community plus user if they have to collaborate on that case as well.
Okay. Varuna?
Yeah, so Mohit, there's a requirement that says they generate a contract against the which says for the account, location, and waste profile data.
Yes.
Where are we capturing the contract information?
Yeah, I didn't sorry, Varun, I didn't mention during my presentation. So there will be a contract object here, which I forgot to include from my draft to this sheet. But there will be a contract, standard sales contract object, wherein we are going to capture them on it.
Okay.
Follow up on that one, Mohit. That
Sure.
contract object would be related to which records here?
So contract, yes. So the contract will be associated to the account record. Of course, that's the default, and it will be controlled by a parent. And it will also be related to the waste profile location record, because the contract is for that particular waste profile.
Okay. So here is the situation, right? I have let's say five locations. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one contract, and that one contract is covering only 3 locations, let's say. So let's say so I have a 5 location, 2 contract. One contract is covering 3 location, and one contract is covering second location, 2 locations. How your data model would help that?
Okay, so in case there are multiple contracts, then of course at the account level it will be the same standard lookup. But for the linking it to the waste profile location, we need to use another junction object between the contract. Now we don't have a standard contract line item object for sales contract, so we need to bring in a separate child contract line item object wherein the line item will correspond to the locations which are covered as part of those contracts.
Okay.
So Mohit, on the contract, it says sometimes they can sign it using the specialist mobile device. So how do you get the e-signature?
Yes, yes. So for that, I believe we have an LWC which can be configured as a quick action LWC. Using that, we should be able to capture the signature using mobile touch.
Okay. So are you, after the signing, are you generate, where's that
Okay,
document
yeah.
going to be?
So the document, so that will be captured as a file on the contract because it will be converted into an image and captured there and referred as an image for further.
Okay, so you are not using any e-signature products. You are using you're doing custom development for this feature.
Yes, I think in order to considering build versus buy, if there is an app exchange product which can be leveraged for e-signature, that can be used. I just saw that requirement that I didn't consider DocuSign because there was no DocuSign integration and server setup required, considering they are signing on the mobile app only. But an app exchange can be used to capture the signature.
If the requirement says if the customer can sign on the especially mobile device, alternatively the customer can sign by after logging to Salesforce, they can sign later on as well. So they can do online as well as mobile.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what's your decision? Yeah.
Right. So my consideration here was that considering 4 months, if we go for DocuSign, we'll have to set up the DocuSign server and bring that integration. But here there is no such requirement where customer is expecting to receive that the contract for signing via email or any other channel. So in order to capture the signature on the fly, we can use either a custom solution or an app exchange on the web or the mobile device.
So what's your decision?
So I'll stick with the same. It will be I'll go for an app exchange product, considering build versus buy, and capture the signature on the mobile or the web.
So why you're changing your solution, right, from the LWC to the app exchange?
Yes, I am. Unfortunately, I don't remember any app exchange name on top of my head apart from DocuSign, thing which needs a greater setup. So I would explore the app exchange and actually look for a product which is more lightweight and can be used here rather than to avoid custom development.
Okay. One question which I have on the data migration side, can you go on your data migration?
Sure.
So in your data migration, we need to also migrate. Okay. So which profile we have a PDF in the in existing system, right? But in the new system, you have a WIS profile as a custom object. How the migration between PDF to the custom object is happening? I see you have written files there, but how exactly you will convert file to the actual content? What is considerations there?
Right. So, in order to upload the file, so we'll create a waste profile object there basically for representing the waste profile application. However, these PDFs will be linked to them as content document, and we will upload actually a content version because the blob of the file is actually stored as a content version, and it will create the content document, and then a content document link will be created between waste profile and the waste profile PDF files. And in order to migrate the data, since this can be, I'm assuming only 1 MB of file, so we can still use the ETL to upload the data using bulk ETL.
If you go on the system requirement, point number 5, the only way WIS profile is stored is a PDF. There's no RDBMS there. You don't have WIS profile name, you don't have customer name, everything is in PDF. How do you extract that information and you create as a record in Salesforce?
Okay. Yes. So for that, my recommendation is that the naming of the file will store some attributes there, as I explained during my presentation. So we'll have the account name, the location name, which will be captured here, the location ID, basically the external ID, so that when we are uploading the files, we should be able to identify this is the account, this is the location, and for which we are uploading this waste profiles.
So let's assume that WIS profile PDF in the beginning doesn't have that naming convention. They have naming convention some number dot PDF, 1 dot PDF, 2 dot PDF, 3 dot PDF. How would you rename that file name according to the content inside PDF document? how the naming convention would work, who will do that?
Right. So I will have to think about it and get back to you, Jitendra, on that.
Okay. Varna?
Yeah, so on the data migration, requirement number 1, it said there could be these leads could be, it could have duplicate data against customers.
Right.
So how do you make sure those records are not brought to Salesforce?
Right. So we'll extract the lead information from lead database using ETL as well as the customer data from ERP. And then I'm assuming that at the ETL level, we'll have the matching logic to match the lead attributes to the customer and identify the unique record. And then we are just going to bring only the leads where there is no match found with the existing customer. And I'll engage data stewards as well as business SMEs to define that matching criteria here. Okay.
So Mohit, assume your data migration takes like say 3 days to complete, and your cutover period is that you get from the business is only like 1 day. So how do you tackle that?
Right. So for that, I will have basically a delta load also planned. So I will first extract all the data from the system, and then we'll measure the gauge the deployment window, which is downtime, which is required at the staging layer at the perf testing, and then we will load the data which is extracted till that time, till 3 days back into production, and then we will have another delta load planned. Maybe over the next weekend, considering, and then the extra 7 days of that data can also be uploaded.
So how do you figure out what data has to be part of the data load?
So what data has to be part of the data load? Yes. So for that,
sorry, my question, how do you figure out what's the logic to figure out what's going to be part of the data load, the changes?
Right. So we'll enable like a timestamp or change data capture kind of thing at the ETL layer, so that we'll follow a watermarking technique that any records which were created or updated till this time will be extracted for the go live, and then any updates which have happened after that will be included in the delta.
Okay. All right. I have one other question. You said about the user creation, you are going to use Apex to avoid mixed email errors, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So is there a way that you can build that feature without going in a highly customized manner?
Yes, I mean the user can be also created manually. I mean the waste specialist, if they have the permissions, the manage user permission, they can also enable the customer contact and create a user manually without automating this.
No, is there an option in Salesforce? Salesforce, like any automation tool you can use without writing Apex code for this to achieve the same feature?
Okay. Automation tool. So can I clarify one thing? So is the question about, is there anything apart from Apex which can be leveraged?
Yes, that's a question.
I can also use after save flow, but again, it will be in the same transaction, so we'll have to separate the transaction using invocable Apex. Basically, there also some coding will be still required.
Okay. All right. Did you have any questions?
Yeah, I do have a few questions. Mohit, can you explain, go back on the identity slide that you have created?
Sure.
So in the identity slide, can you walk me through the OIDC plus social sign-on flow from FB to the Salesforce? How would that work?
Right. So the user will of course, try to open the mobile app on the on their device, and then if there is no existing session, access token, then Salesforce there will be an auth token request which will be generated from the mobile device to Salesforce via connected app. However, since this is layered with the OIDC flow, so there is an authorization provider. So the request will be redirected from Salesforce token request to the OIDC web server authorization point request, where the user will have to authenticate with their LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter credentials. Once the user authenticates, an authorization code will be returned, because this is a web server flow via browser to the mobile device, and then using that code, an access token, which is the social sign-on access token request, will be sent to the Facebook or LinkedIn, and an access token, which is the authorization provider access token, will be returned back. Once we got that access token, then the request will again the authorization endpoint of the Salesforce will now get the Salesforce access token request, and then that access token will be returned to the mobile app. So this is how the authentication will be handled by the OIDC web server flow, and the authorization will be tackled by the user agent flow.
So in this flow, Mohit, where the user is being asked for consent, because it's a OAuth, so user has to give the consent.
Right.
Where that prompt would happen.
So that prompt, so if this is the very first time, the consent will first happen at the Facebook level, because we will have an app configured on the Facebook side. So user will have to consent the scope for that. And then when it comes to Salesforce, if it is the very first time and user has not provided consent to that connected app, again the consent will happen there. So 2 times if this is the very first time.
Okay.
Mohit, you explained that you had compared Odaseva and some other option, but then you went with the data warehouse route. What is your justification?
Right. So my justification is that I'll use the data warehouse for querying purpose and exposing the data as an external object on the fly whenever required. Odaseva, Odaseva does provide some capabilities for viewing the archive data and for backup and restore, but I'll not be able to use it for querying on the fly. So that was one of my consideration there. And I did consider big objects, but then big objects also will not be able to run any reporting on top of big objects. And for archival as well, I'll have to write a custom logic to do that. And so those were my considerations for going with the data warehouse.
Okay. Mohit, on visibility requirement number 4.
Sure.
Drivers should be able to view customer and pick up data of all customers on their routes, both past and present. So how do you give drivers this access to the customers?
Right. So for drivers, considering my existing data model, so let me go back to that. So drivers will be assigned to the trucks, and then since it will be, and I'm assuming that it will be daily shift change for the drivers, so not one driver is going to stick to one truck. So which means that we'll need to have a dynamic sharing mechanism, and in that case, they will using the pickup schedules which are assigned to that truck, and then their corresponding sites and account will enable 2 sharing records, one for account share record and another one for site share, so that they can drivers can access that, and it will be dynamically based upon the assignment of the drivers.
So you are using a sharing set?
No, I'm using Apex Managed Sharing with using the object share records. For account, the row cause will be manual. However, for sites, we can define a custom row cause.
Yeah, I think you answered. What is the license you are giving for the drivers again?
Sales Cloud.
Okay.
So follow-up question on that one, Mohit. So you're using Apex Managed Sharing to share an account. Any consideration on this approach? What happens if the account owner resigns and that is replaced by the new account owner? What would happen in that case?
Right. So since the Apex Managed Sharing is, at least for standard objects like account or cases, it's dependent upon the owner because the row cause is manual. So they will lose access to the record if the waste specialist owner is changed. So we'll need to then have a custom logic to detect the ownership changes and ensure that still the provide them sharing access by creating a share record.
So that's a lot of customization, right? First you're sharing the Apex base and then you're also managing the ownership, you keep changing. Anything else available out of the box?
Yes, so we can also use account teams so that we can add the drivers to the account team if the ownership is changed so that they retain access to account.
So what is your final solution, Mohit?
So I'll go with the account team. My only consideration there would be that in case the access needs to be taken away from the drivers due to any business consideration, then we'll have to have some expiry date based logic that we can also configure based upon account team and schedule flow. So yeah, I'll stick to account team.
Okay. So Mohit, we are over 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, but I would still like to ask one question.
Sure.
Okay. Sure. In the project development life cycle, requirement number 4, second last.
Yes.
What is your approach on that one? Read that requirement, and as an architect, what would be your suggestion to the business?
Right. So yes. So my recommendation here would be to define an MVP phase for the project because the timeline is 4 months, and since business wants to go live, however, IT wants a phased approach. So so my recommended solution is MVP phase. There could be a design phase for 2 weeks in the beginning for blueprinting, which could be waterfall, and then build will happen in an agile manner, and then testing will be again a waterfall, and we will leverage the change control board and also engage the executive steering committee to decide the strategy and pick up the functionalities which are which are valuable for the business and which we can include and roll out in MVP. And then there can be multiple phases, which can be MUP phase, which can be used for other requirements which are not on priority.
So Mohit, in this requirement, there is a very clearly conflict between IT and the business.
Yes.
Okay. So which side would you choose and why?
Right. I think I would leverage my governance executive steering committee since there is a bottleneck here and business and IT are not aligned. So we'll leverage the executive steering committee who will define the vision and strategy for this program and then ensure that business and IT are both aligned. And then the COE lead will ensure that all the COE activities follow that strategy.